Late start. We're just getting some technical issues sorted out. Welcome to Deep Dive on Amazon Workspaces and Amazon WAM. Today, I'll kick this session off with a description of Workspaces, how you get Workspace set up, and then I'll pass the mic to Supreet, who will be joining me on stage for the Amazon WAM portion. So we'll start with the customer here. For Workspaces. Think of a customer who's, let's say, Example Co. It's a small manufacturing company based in the Midwest. They have a lot of AWS-based applications already running. They're planning to hire 100 contractors very soon and want to onboard them into their corporate environment. Usually, this means that we will be providing these contractors physical desktops based on a golden image that is already available within that company. All these contractors will need access to line of business applications, applications that are available on the intranet, and also apps that are installed on their desktop. These contractors also require remote access so that they can get to their desktop from they can use their desktops from home or off-site and be able to VPN into their environment. And finally, Example Co. is buying into the bring your own device model, where they want to get their contractors to bring the device of their choice. And this company is moving apps to the cloud, and Workspaces is one of them as well. So how do we get started? The first step always with a Workspaces deployment is making sure that you have the right networking environment, which is foundational. Once we build out a network, then we can go ahead and launch Workspaces. Once the Workspace is set up, one of the things we need to do is get applications to these end users on their Workspaces. That's where Amazon WAM comes in, the new features that we announced today. The first step, of course, building the network. Example Co. is a company that has an on-prem network already. They have an on-prem data center. They have their Active Directory running on-prem. They might have a few other applications already running on-prem. So that is, let's say, the 10-dot network that they have set up. They're using a VPC on the AWS environment, which is a 172-dot network. Notice that the CIDR ranges are non-overlapping, so that is good. That's something that's required when you're setting up Workspaces to make sure that your CIDR ranges aren't going to overlap. There's a VPN connection. This could also be a direct connect between the two environments. There's an Active Directory that is available already. That's in the on-prem environment, and which we will connect to using an AD connector. We'll go into that later. So we'll go into the setup of the AD connector later. But so the AD connector is going to be available as part of Example Co's VPC. The Workspaces that we'll launch for Example Co. will be part of this VPC. Diving in a little more into what the Workspace has in terms of which networks it talks to. It has two interfaces on it, so it's always dual-homed. There's one interface which is used to stream the protocol traffic out. So when a user connects to this virtual desktop or Workspace, all of the pixel traffic is going to come out through the ETH0 interface. We use PCIP, which is the pixel compression over IP protocol for the pixel transmission. So when an end user connects, wherever they are, whether they are in an on-prem environment or, let's say, sitting in a coffee shop, this is the interface that they're going to get their pixels on. One reason I call this out is since it's dual-homed, the ETH0 interface is the one carrying the pixel traffic. That any bandwidth that is used by the pixel traffic is included in the Workspaces charges that a customer sees. So what happens on ETH1? ETH1 is the other interface that participates in the customer's VPC. So this would be part of example core's VPC. It'll show up as any other ENI for an EC2 instance in your VPC. ETH1 is used for functions like joining the Active Directory, accessing the internet from within the workspace. Let's say there's access to Amazon.com from within the workspace. That access is going to go out on ETH1. Also, access to any file shares within the VPC or the on-prem network is going to be over ETH1. So that's the route out to internet. It can be either via the VPN connection going back to the on-prem network and then through a firewall on-prem, or it could be directly out to the internet via a NAT instance that is on the VPC. There's another piece here, which is a Workspace's gateway or a security gateway, which performs the role of a DMZ over here, where a user's client is going to connect to an IP on this gateway, which is then fronting a workspace. So there isn't a direct connection to a workspace. So putting all that in context, if you look at a bigger picture for how the environment's set up, you have end users who could be in an on-prem environment, or they could be sitting in a coffee shop. The way they connect to their workspace is first authenticating into an endpoint. They're able to authenticate against an Active Directory, get a token back, and then pass the token through the system to then get pixel connection going. I have another slide here, which actually should go through all the steps. OK, this one. So the first step is an end user on a client is first going to connect to an OAuth gateway, where the credentials are transmitted over a secure SSL channel into this OAuth gateway. From there, we authenticate the credentials for this user via the AD connector, which is really just a proxy for transmitting these credentials into the AD for the customer. Get an authentication token back, which is basically steps 2 and then 3, and then you go into all the way back to step 4. The next step, once you have a token back, which is yes, this user is now authenticated against this directory, belongs to example co. The next step is then to ask the Workspaces service for, OK, for this user who has this token, how do I get to a workspace? That's where the Workspace broker comes in. That is step 5. It's going to figure out where the workspace lives and find an IP address for a gateway that can be passed back to the client. Once that is complete, then the client is going to take that IP address for the gateway, pass it to get it to the gateway here. The gateway then brokers a connection to the workspace, and then a streaming connection is started. These diagrams are available on the Workspaces docs. So if you want a deeper dive, more detailed explanation, this should be available. I'm going to jump to a demo now. This is the part that we were having trouble with setting up. So let me see if I can get to my browser here. OK. Right. This there. All right. OK. Thanks for your patience. Drag this one here as well. OK, I'm going to lean over and try and get to the screen here so that I can see what's going on. So what you're looking at is the Workspaces console. The first thing you'll do once you have the network set up is actually go in and set up the directory. So the directory is, there's two types of directories you can set up. There's a simple AD, which is an AWS-based, which is a Samba-based directory hosted on AWS. And there's also an AD connector, which is a proxy setup into your Active Directory environment on-prem. So here we can set it up so that you can give an organization name, for example, example co. You can provide a directory DNS. And you can provide an AD connector account, which is the account used to access users and groups in your Active Directory. So this is the username that is used by the AD connector to do a listing of users and groups that you'll see in the console later. This is a service account that the only permissions that you need to provide for this will be listing users and groups and also do domain joins. This is also the account that will be used later on. When a workspace comes up, it will be joined to the domain using this account. And finally, DNS address. So the DNS that should be used from the workspace to access these domain controllers. Finally, which VPC you'd like to put these domain controllers, this AD connector in, and also where your workspaces will come up. So that is what you'll select over here. I won't go through the setup of the entire AD connector here. Instead, I have one that is already available. You can look at the details within the AD connector here. So it says directory type is AD connector, and other details such as what is the DNS that was provided for this AD connector here. There are a couple of colors here for setting up the AD connector. Once you have the AD connector set up, you can, let's see, okay. So go into, you can add additional configuration. For example, you might want to set up your workspaces as part of an OU in your directory so that when they go through the domain join, they show up in an OU. And you also have, you can apply policies based on the workspaces participating in this OU. You can also set up a security group, which is actually going to help you with each workspace. You can basically specify what ports it has access to from that workspace and what IP ranges it can have access to. So if you go back to the earlier slide with ETH0 and ETH1, where ETH1 is the ENI participating in the customer's VPC, then this is going to help determine which traffic can get through on ETH1. The other options here, I won't jump through all of them. There's a new option that we just added, which is local administrator. You can set up workspaces so that all workspaces get the user set up as local admin, or you can turn that off. This is a feature that we launched just this week. You can update the AD connector account in case you have password rotation and then you need to update the AD account, or for any other reason, you can do that through this console. Finally, for the users in example code, you want them to have secure access from outside the corporate environment, which means you might want to turn on MFA. In this case, you can turn on MFA and link your workspaces to any existing radius setup that you might already have, and you can set that up over here. All right, so once your directory is set up, the next step will be launching workspaces, of course. And to launch workspaces, you can go through the console here. You can select the directory that you have already configured. And then you can search for, let's say, users who are in your directory. You can select the user, and once that is complete, you can The next step will be choosing a bundle type. The bundle type is basically a mapping of both hardware and software. You can choose between different hardware types. We offer 3 different hardware types, which is value, standard, and performance. The difference between these hardware types is the number of CPUs and the amount of memory that the workspace gets. So depending on the type of user or their use case, you would select different hardware types. Also, along with the hardware, you also get to pick software type, which is the Plus bundle. So the Plus bundle includes Microsoft Office, WinZip, and Trend Micro Antivirus. So that's built into the price of the workspace and is available. So once you pick the bundle type, you can then launch a workspace. You can go through that here. Now, I'm going to cancel out and go back to the workspaces listing. One of the things you'll notice here is, of course, bundles and images. I'm going to talk about that briefly. When Example Co is launching Workspace for, say, 100 users, they want a standard image to be used. So you'd call that a golden image. One of the ways to build that with Workspaces is to launch a workspace. You customize it with, let's say, you install your own certificates there. You set up a desktop theme that is common in your company, and then you want to build an image from that. So you can do that from just the Workspace console. So once a workspace is customized, one of the things you can do is you can select a workspace. Once you pick a running workspace, then you can then create an image from it. So as you go through the create image process, you enter details on what the image name is, and then about 45 minutes to an hour later, you have an image available and ready for you, and it will show up on the screen, which is the images screen. So you take an image from here, and then you can create your own custom bundle from it. So when you're creating a custom bundle, you can point to any of the images that you have already created, and you can pair it with any hardware type that you have access to, which is the value, standard, or performance. So for example, I can give it a name, SFO Summit, and then pick a hardware type, and then create a bundle. So this then creates a Workspaces bundle that I can then launch more workspaces from. I'm going to skip that. I think I hit enter, but it's not showing up yet. It takes a few seconds. I'm going to switch to something else, which is we just added the support today. You can now launch workspaces using the AWS CLI and also programmatically use manage workspaces using any of the AWS SDKs. That support is available today. So for example, I can go to the AWS CLI, which I have set up here. I can do a describe workspaces, which gets me all the workspaces already running in the account that I was just using right now. For example, there's David's workspace over here. Belongs to David. This is the directory in which the workspace is available. The state is available. It's ready to connect. And also you see other information for the workspace, such as the bundle type and the private IP address for the workspace, which VPC it is in, and finally, the bundle type itself. The commands that are available with API support today are to manage workspace. So you can describe all the CRUD APIs. So you can create workspaces, you can list them, you can update them. So you can reboot or rebuild workspaces using these APIs, and finally you can terminate these workspaces. I'll go through just one brief example here. So let's describe workspaces. From here, of course, a couple of things I need to launch a workspace. I need to know a workspace bundle type. So these are the bundle types that are available to me in my account that I've created. Then you need to know the directory in which you would launch these workspaces. So these are the directories that are available to me. This is the one that I had set up that was visible on the browser. And excuse me. And finally, I can create workspaces. So let me see. I can create a workspace where I basically provide information on I want to create a workspace. This is the directory in which it will participate. This is the bundle ID. And finally, there's a username, Varun. So Varun is the user I'll launch a workspace for. So that kicked it off. And I should then see this under describe workspaces. OK, so far, we have basically set up a network for a workspace environment. We have set up a directory so that you can join workspaces to this directory. We have talked about creating a golden image for these workspaces and then deploying workspaces from these golden images. The next step really is to figure out, OK, how am I going to deploy a range of applications to all these users in example code? They have 100 contractors coming on board. There's going to be a bunch of different application types that each of these contractors will need. So how does that work? For that part, I'm going to invite Supreet on stage to go through Amazon Workspace Application Manager. Trying to get the deck back up. Yeah. Just get the deck back.
What's that?
The deck.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Deepak. So the example company now wants to deploy a wide variety of applications for various of their employees that are joining them. So today we announced Amazon Workspaces Application Manager. We'll walk you through how this can actually enable that example company to deploy a lot of apps on demand. So managing applications for user, depending on the roles and the organization, the example company may have different needs to deploy and manage applications. They have their line of business applications that they may need to deploy to their employees, or they may already have existing applications for which they already own licenses through their enterprise agreements, or there may be a scenario where they want to procure software on demand for a lot of their employees. So Amazon WAM allows us to deploy applications at scale without requiring any upfront investment or upfront infrastructure. So you pay for what you use. And the way we actually deploy applications is through a concept called virtualized app containers. So through this mechanism, we can actually deploy apps as isolated containers, which actually decouples the applications from the operating system. So this allows enterprises to easily manage the applications at scale and also being able to customize that. So with the concept of this application containers, now an organization does not necessarily always have to worry about how do I just create all the applications into a base image. So now this gives them the flexibility to actually allow their end users to pick and choose the application that they want as long as it's approved by their organization. And the IT administrators now can actually curate applications on each user specific. So if an example company has hundreds of contract employees and they're based in different organizations, let's say some of them are in finance, some of them are in customer service, some of them are in as knowledge workers, they can pick and choose and say each role and organization within an organization can be assigned a specific set of applications in a customized manner. While they do this, we also provide the capability to integrate your Active Directory. So you can actually enumerate your Active Directory users and groups. You search your users and groups, and you actually assign applications to your organization's Active Directory users, and then be able to track the usage of which applications have been assigned to what users, and how are they actually using it, and what is the current usage of the apps. So this helps organizations to better cost, to track the cost very effectively, and to figure out what is the right licensing model for the applications that they use depending on their organization needs. The big thing that we also allow us to offer is the low cost. So there are 3 elements to this. Is one, organizations don't need to necessarily spend a lot of upfront investment to build out the infrastructure to deploy and manage applications. 2, organizations typically spend quite a bit of infrastructure to actually package and manage the applications. They typically set up their own test labs, and they actually have to make investment. The third one is they end up buying licenses without really understanding how the applications are being used. So Amazon WAM helps you to kind of track, solve all of these challenges and reduce the low cost there. So pictorially, you can shop for apps from the AWS Marketplace for desktops, or you can bring your line of business applications or applications for it, and then you add it to your application catalog. And these, once you add it to your application catalog, Amazon WAM allows you to deploy apps in the form of containers in a very secure way to your users who are using Amazon Workspaces. So this way you can dynamically assign apps on demand to figure out which users get what app. For example, you could say financial folks within the financial organization will need a following set of apps, and you can specifically assign those apps, and they will be getting the right set of apps there. We also are providing 2 ways to build your application catalog. The first one is through AWS Marketplace for desktop apps. This section of our marketplace will offer desktop apps on a monthly subscription model. We will be offering over 100 titles in about 11 categories. You can browse the catalog, you can subscribe to apps, and you can instantly assign apps to user, completely simplifying your software procurement lifecycle, as well as the duration in which you can procure the software. For example, the example company has a set of few developers. You can assign them Visual Studio, and then everybody needs probably Productivity Suite. You can assign them Office, and then example company also wants to make sure their workspaces are all secure, so you can actually assign them an antivirus from McAfee, or similarly other applications as appropriate. The second model in which you can build your application catalog is you may, as a company, have a lot of line of business apps or apps that you already have existing licenses. We offer a very simple 3-step model to actually import your applications into your catalog. First, we allow you to launch an EC2 instance with Amazon WAM's Admin Studio. This studio allows you to import your application there, application installer, run through a sort of packaging process, and actually create a container. Then you launch using an EC2 instance using Amazon WAM Admin Player, which allows you to give you the option to test these containers and qualify them for your organization needs. And once it's done, then you add your application to the catalog using the Workspaces console. So this way you can easily qualify your applications and assign the applications to your users once you actually have certified. Once you added your application to your catalog, then you select a set of applications, and then you enumerate your users and groups in your Active Directory, and then you just assign the applications there. So the IT admin just expresses the intent, and then Amazon WAM honors the intent by configuring the policy, allowing to control versions, and then allowing those applications to be delivered in a secure manner to the workspaces. We've been wanting to support a lot of applications that were built for Windows 7, Windows 8. We also support applications that are 32-bit and 64-bit, and pretty much applications that are written for our desktop operating system. While you package applications, example company may have a need where you probably want to activate your software against a key management server, or you want to create a user at runtime, or you want to configure a policy. So we allow you programmable, configurable app events, which allows you to use your programming language, such as like Ruby, Python, or Bash, PowerShell, or anything, where you can write scripts, and then you can use them as triggers to execute certain events depending on when you actually want it. Like, for example, if you want to activate the piece of software the very first time the container gets deployed to Workspace, you can execute the script to activate your software against a key management server that you would have set up in your VPC. While we allow you to configure your pages, we also give you the capability to control what your application visibility is. For example, you have an application where you need a specific framework that is an older version of the framework that you need to run, or you have an Internet Explorer and you want to run an older version of Internet Explorer. You can set the isolation level to 4, which completely hides it from the operating system, and only the application dependencies are all managed there. Or if you want to set the isolation level to 3 when you package it, that means it's the default access and whole operating system can actually see your applications. If you set the application level to 2, we kind of take a hybrid approach. For example, if you have a device driver and you're packaging antivirus, you can place certain device drivers on the file as a native file system and the remaining files as a virtual file system. Or if you want to be, let's say you have an antivirus and you have a DAT file that you want your applications to be honoring the DAT file, then you set the configuration to 1, which allows you to place all the applications on physically. So we give you the flexibility to where you can run your application as a completely isolated containers, or you can go make it a physical, or you can choose a hybrid approach where some of the files are physical and some of the files are virtual. So we give you the ability to customize and control. So now I'm going to switch to a different laptop, hopefully to kind of show you the demo. The demo that I'm going to show you is example company has an application that they actually want to package, validate it, and then we'll also see how the example company can actually use that in the context of a workspace. What I have done here is I've launched 2 EC2 instances. One is called Amazon WAM Admin Studio, which allows me to package my application, and then Amazon WAM Admin Player, which allows me to validate this application. So what I will do first is I will log into the admin studio. So this is an EC2 instance. We provide you an ARMI when you get started within the Amazon WAM console. It will be shared as a private ARMI into your account, so you can launch an EC2 instance. Once you launch an EC2 instance, the Amazon WAM Studio is built into the ARMI. So for the demo purposes, what I've done is I've gone and downloaded Kindle PC installer here. So we'll package this as a sample application. So you launch an Amazon Studio, and you click create a new project, and I'm going to give the title Kindle PC demo here, Kindle. And you can choose your target operating system on which you actually want to run. For Workspaces, we're going to choose Windows 7 and Windows 2008 R2 instance. I'm going to choose an installer. And I basically want to capture everything on the installer, this installer does, so that we can completely virtualize this application. And I'm going to go with the default settings here. And I'm going to launch the application, and now the installer is about to be launched. And what's happening is our studio is capturing all the changes that are happening with this application. So for the first time, you will actually have to walk through the installer. So it's going to capture everything that's needed. So the application installation process is done. So And then you can create your own label. And then you want to choose what application, what is the start. When you click on this, when the user launches this application, what file actually do they want to actually see? So typically, this is the executable that you select. So this is like a quick launch option. Once you do that, you click upload. So now what's happening is the application is being packaged into a container and uploaded into Amazon WAM. A lot of our customers asked us to kind of create this concept of virtual lab. So what this gives us is this package is being uploaded to Amazon WAM in a pending test status. So you can have one set of your employees who are packaging creating containers, and then you can have your qualification team which downloads these containers and then validates and approves it. Once these applications have been approved, they can then be uploaded as products in your application catalog, and then you can assign it to your users. So we'll wait for a few seconds here, and then this application will get uploaded to Amazon WAM as a container. And then we'll launch a validator instance through which we will qualify the application. While I wait for here, I'm going to quickly bring up the admin player. I'll get it started. So admin player is another EC2 instance that I have launched. What I have here is an admin version of the player that shows me all the list of the apps that are in pending status. So far I have one application here that's already been approved, so I don't have any pending apps. Once we have that application uploaded, it will show up as a pending application. Waiting for the typically it's pretty fast, but probably the internet speed here is a bit slow. So while that's getting uploaded, I'm going to start another version of the player that we have here, just to kind of show you an experience here. So here is an example where I had a Firefox that has been, I packaged it. So in the meantime, I'm just going to open up a Firefox here. This is a virtualized Firefox. You can do your qualification test, you can test for your plugins, you can do all your tests, and once it's done, you can close it, and then you typically approve it. Again, this account, I don't have any approved applications. Let's see if that application is done. So it gave us a dialog message, basically said if there was any customizable user-specific data, it didn't put it into the container, so the container is uploaded. So now if I go to the dashboard, you will see the Kindle PC demo is now in pending test status. This was the previous Firefox that has already been approved. So now I'm going to go to the player, and I'm going to refresh my app here. So I got my Kindle PC demo, which we packaged just now as a container. This is an admin player. Now I, as an admin, will actually install this application. I can run my qualification tests, however the qualification process is. So now I'm going to open my Kindle application. So the Kindle application is being delivered as a container, so it's not being physically installed on this EC2 instance. So now I want to do my tests. I want to make sure all the links open up in an external browser. Here, Internet Explorer is the default browser on this instance, so it's working well. If you want, I want to make sure that the sample books are opening correctly. That works well too. If I want to create a collection, I can go create a collection to make sure the collection is working well. So you can do your test as appropriate for your application. Once your application has been tested, I as an IT admin can go and say, okay, this application is good to go, and I'm going to approve this. So once you approve this application shows up, still continues to show up in my player, but I don't have any pending apps. So we kind of created a concept of a workflow where you can package your application using Packager and then validate using Studio. This is for your line of business applications. Then let's go to the Workspaces console. Deepak showed you Workspace, and I'm going to show you the application catalog. So the application catalog has two sources, line of business applications or marketplace applications. So if you want to procure software on demand, you have marketplace applications. Or if you want to shop for more apps from the marketplace, you can go to the marketplace. You can browse any title that you like. It's a monthly subscription. You can subscribe to apps. You can see who you have assigned the apps to. And then you can subscribe and it shows up in your source. Alternatively, if you want to package your application, you can actually walk through the application creation workflow. It's a three-step process. Once you enter the metadata, then you enter some select support details and create a package, and then the packaging process will kick off, and then your product will get created. Once you, in the interest of time, I'm going to pick a product from the marketplace here. For example, you can pick IE Notepad here, and if you want to assign apps to your users, you quickly go to it walks you through a workflow. Here is an Active Directory that has been created. You can search for your users. You can pick a specific app. You can choose the installation type. Required means as soon as the user logs in, the app shows up on their workspace. Alternatively, if you want to give the user a choice, you can set them to optional. That means the user has the right to install the apps on demand. And once you do this, the app is all set, and then the manifest flows through the Amazon WAM control plane, and then this app will now get delivered to the workspace. An IT admin can also quickly go to the usage dashboard. This is a real-time dashboard that we have built. You can quickly take a glance of what all apps that your organization is using it, and how many people are actually using it, where you actually procured it from. Alternatively, you can also go to a user level, and then you can say which users are using the apps. For example, if I take demo 1, so demo 1 user has been given 9 applications. He has installed 8 applications, and about 7 or 8 of them have been activated. So you can not only keep track of which apps assignments have been made to a user, but you can also see when it's assigned, how many versions have been assigned, which of them are actually deployed as containers, and which of them are activated. So this gives you the complete visibility into the cost controls as well as the usage of how the applications is going on. So I'm going to log into demo 4 user workspace to kind of give you a glance of the end user experience. So before I go there, according to the console, it says this user has 3 applications: Project Standard 2010, DIA, and Coral Paint. So if I go to Workspace, there are 3 applications that have been assigned as required. So as you can see, as soon as I logged into the Workspace, if I go to All Programs, I already see DIA. So you can launch your application from the Start menu or from the shortcut. The experience for the application is very native, but the app is not actually physically installed. It's being deployed in a container and delivered to the workspace using Amazon WAM. So Coral Photoshop, Coral PaintShop is a second application which has been assigned as required for me by my IT admin. It's already pre-installed, so you can actually start using this application. Workspace by default comes with IE11. Let's say you have a use case where you want to provide your organization a older version of IE for a specific business use case. So this is Amazon Amazon WAM, the desktop app. You see two tabs here. I have my apps. These are the apps that are physically present on my workspace, and a catalog of apps that my IT admin has given me access. So I'm going to go ahead and install IE9. So this is a optional app that my IT admin has given me the choice to install. So what's happening here is the app request is being made to the Amazon WAM backend service, and we are verifying that this specific user has the entitlement rights for this application, and then the application is being delivered. So now this application is being delivered in a container, and I just showed you we had IE9, IE11. So now you have a IE9 browser running along with a IE11 browser. So this way you can run applications that you can run multiple versions of the applications where you want to deploy them as container. Similarly, Project Standard 2010 is a software that I have shopped from Marketplace on a monthly subscription model. This application has been deployed onto my workspace and is running in a container fashion. At the end of the month, if my IT admin decides, or I as an end user decide, I don't want to use this app, I can unsubscribe the app. Likewise, we have other applications. So the end user can launch the applications from the Amazon WAM here, or directly from the shortcuts on the desktop, or they can launch it from the start menu. The experience is native, but the apps are being delivered as containers. So this gives the IT administrators the flexibility to customize the apps on a per user basis and deploy the apps to end users using application containers. So UltraEdit, I just subscribe to UltraEdit. If I'm a developer, I can start opening up the editor and start programming in whatever the language of our choice. So that's just a brief overview of Amazon WAM. We kind of talked about two sources in which you can build your application catalog. One is through shopping for apps from the AWS Marketplace for desktop apps. Second one is you can bring your own line of business applications. We showed you that you can use the Amazon WAM Studio to package your application as a container and then validate those containers using Amazon WAM admin player. And then you go to the console to do your administrative actions of assigning apps to users, shop for apps from the AWS Marketplace for desktop apps. And you can track usage of your applications. And then the last piece was the end user logs into their workspace, and they have the kind of app store experience here where they can subscribe to apps on demand, as well as use the apps that have been assigned for by their IT administrator. So that's kind of a quick overview of Amazon WAM. The documentation has a lot of details around what are the types of packaging you do, how the packaging configurations can be customized, how you do packaging for applications which have frameworks, applications that have cross dependencies, applications that need to be packaged in a suite of applications. So we have all the documentation on the AWS website. I'm going to pass back to Deepak for the quick recap and any questions.
Thank you, Supreet. All right. So we actually had some of the screenshots already in here. I'm going to skip past these. So what you have seen so far is Example Co. as a company that wanted to deploy Amazon Workspaces for their contractors. They first set up a network, which was the basic foundation for Workspaces. Once that was done, they created an Active Directory, an AD Connect, Active Directory that already existed. They set up an AD connector from which they could pull their users, set up workspaces for They could create custom images for those users and then launch workspaces. They could use the console or the CLI. So this also means if they had, let's say, an internal console for managing workspaces, they could integrate with the Workspace APIs to do that. Once that is done, of course, they want to deploy different types of applications to their users, different contractor sets. Maybe some are developers, maybe some are sales representatives. So each of them would get different types of applications, and that's what Amazon WAM helped us do. Finally, I'll just call out a few features that we have been launching for Workspaces in the last few months. API support is something that came out just today. That's something everyone can use. APIs also include CloudTrail support, so you can audit any API calls that are being made against Workspaces. It also includes resource permissions, so if you have workspaces that you want to protect against accidental deletion, then resource permissions help support that. There are other features that we have launched, such as on the client side, that are very useful to users. For example, there's network health checks. One of the issues that we see customers running into is a client comes up and their local network, say, blocks a particular network port which is needed for Workspaces to function. Then the network health checks is a very easy way to find out what is wrong and then fix that port on, say, the customer's local network firewall. Other convenience features, there's reconnect, so that you don't have to enter your credentials every time on the Workspaces client. The client retains credentials in an encrypted form for up to 10 hours and can reconnect a user. This is something that you can configure as part of your Workspace environment. There's also resume sessions. So if you have connections that drop, like your network connection drops because of high latency, then the Workspace connection does not drop completely. Instead, it just waits until the network comes back up and then resumes the session. There's also single sign-on now between Workspaces and WorkDocs. So if you're within your Workspace, you get automatically signed in to your WorkDocs environment. So when you visit the WorkDocs site from within your Workspace, you don't have to sign in again as a user. Same feature applies to the Workspaces WorkDocs sync client. So the WorkDocs sync client, again, uses single sign-on. So since you're in a domain-joined environment, the WorkDocs sync client can use your existing credentials already to get you signed in. A couple of other features, I'll call one out here, which is the full file and client installer. This is something that customers have been asking us for since we launched, where they can deploy their client as an installer to end users' desktops. And of course, the big ones that we think are super useful to customers, and we're excited to see how customers use these, the support for Workspaces Application Manager, and then along with that, access to desktop apps from AWS Marketplace. Those are the new features that we want to call out. Hopefully, this session was useful. I think we are almost out of time, or just out of time. Supreet and I will stay here, answer any questions that you guys have. Thanks for coming.